They said the building had been abandoned for decades, but the elevator still moved. On the night of the storm, Alex stepped inside, unaware that this ride would trap him forever. As the doors closed, a chill ran down his spine, and the lights flickered like a dying heartbeat.
Alex pressed the button for the 15th floor. Nothing happened. The elevator hummed, but the movement, it felt wrong. And then he saw it. Shadows that didn't belong to him. Faces whispering from the mirrored walls. The air grew cold, heavier, almost alive.
The buttons lit up randomly, each one glowing with a pale, unnatural light. Scratches on the walls seemed to move when he blinked. Symbols he couldn't read formed and reformed, as if the elevator itself was alive, watching him.
And then he saw her. A faint silhouette of a woman standing silently behind him. When he turned, she vanished. But every time he looked away, she was closer, as if the elevator had shrunk, or maybe it was him who had grown afraid. The elevator jolted violently, stuck between floors 13 and 14. Objects lifted slightly off the ground. Whispering voices circled his ears, saying his name, mocking him, warning him. But of what?
Alex pressed the emergency button. Nothing. The doors opened slightly, revealing a hallway that should not exist. Endless, fog-filled, eyes glowing at the far end, waiting, beckoning him into the darkness.
His heartbeat thundered in his ears. In the glass reflection, countless shadowy figures pressed close, distorted faces staring back. He wasn't alone, and he had never been alone. The ceiling cracked, sparks flew. A hand, pale, ethereal, reaching down. Alex could feel the brush of ice as if it were really touching him. A scream caught in his throat. He wanted to flee, but the elevator had other plans. Time warped. The clock spun backward. Shadowy faces appeared. Past victims trapped here for eternity. Their eyes hollow, mouths opening in silent screams. And then he realized the elevator had memories, and it never let anyone leave. The doors opened to nothing, a void. Cold mist slithered out, curling around his legs, pulling him. And in that moment, Alex knew the truth. Once inside, the haunted elevator didn't just trap bodies, it trapped souls. Every instinct screamed to run, but there was nowhere to go. The void called him, tendrils of mist curling like fingers, tugging at his clothes. He realized the elevator wasn't just a machine. It was a doorway to something else. Alex reached for a glowing button that hovered in the void. As his fingers grazed it, he glimpsed faces, countless faces twisted in torment. They whispered secrets he couldn't understand, yet their fear seeped into his bones. The elevator hovered, suspended in nothingness. Faces pressed against the walls, mouths opening in silent screams. The air felt thick, heavy with despair. Alex's mind raced. Was this punishment or entertainment for the elevator itself? The mirror betrayed him. His reflection multiplied, twisted, each version more terrified than the last. The shadows weren't shadows. They were fragments of his own fear, feeding, growing stronger. Photographs drifted around him, familiar places, familiar faces, all lost. Their eyes hollow, some mouths sewn shut. Alex realized the elevator collected memories, trapping not just bodies, but the essence of those who dared ride it. Through a panel, he glimpsed the maintenance shaft, walls covered in glowing symbols. A low mechanical hum filled the void, vibrating in his chest.
It was alive, watching, waiting, and it hungered for him to understand its rules.
The whispers grew louder. He clutched his head, trying to block them out, but the hands reached from every corner, clawing at his skin. The ceiling above him twisted and flickered, a carnival of horror mocking his fear. The control panel moved on its own, buttons pressing themselves. Numbers flashed, counting down, but to what? Red lights pulsed like a heartbeat. He understood. Every second, he was closer to becoming part of this nightmare.
He looked into the mirrored walls. The elevator stretched endlessly, corridors looping back on themselves. Figures flickered in and out, trapped forever. And then he realized the elevator didn't just trap him, it reshaped reality to ensure he could never escape.
Before he could think, the floor dropped away. Shadows swallowed him like smoke, eyes glowing faintly in the void. The elevator doors began to close behind him, and he understood the truth. The ride never ends, and neither does the fear.
The elevator swung violently, as if mocking his grip. Shadows stretched from the walls like claws, curling around his legs. Alex's heart pounded in his chest, each beat echoing in the metal cage like a death knell. Escape seemed impossible, yet he had to try.
He blinked, and the faces appeared, only to vanish the moment he tried to focus. They were everywhere, in the shadows, in the reflections. Each one whispered secrets of those who had come before him, warnings he barely understood but felt deep in his soul. The walls cracked, and within them, Alex glimpsed the elevator's history. Faces twisted in eternal screams, hands clawing at nothing, bodies trapped in frozen terror. He realized these were not just memories, they were warnings. But would he heed them in time?
The hands came from everywhere, grasping at the floating debris, swirling them around him. Mist twisted into faces, screaming silently. The air thickened, pressing against his chest. The elevator wasn't just haunted, it was alive, feeding on fear, growing stronger with every heartbeat.
Through the darkness, he saw it, a faint light above. Hope flickered. The mist parted slightly, revealing a path, but the shadows clawed at him, desperate to keep him trapped. Every step forward was a battle, a test of his will against the elevator's hunger.
On the panel, one button glowed, labeled in strange runes, Exit. Faint whispers chanted words he couldn't understand, yet their meaning was clear. Escape was possible, but only if he was willing to face what awaited at the top.
He pressed the button. The elevator shuddered violently. Figures emerged from the walls, some clawing at him, others screaming in silent agony. Fear consumed him, yet he kept moving, hand over hand, inching toward salvation.
Time warped, floors stretched, twisted, numbers spun wildly. Alex felt dizzy, trapped between reality and nightmare. He realized the elevator had power over time itself. It could trap him in the same moment forever, feeding on his fear endlessly.
Finally, the doors began to open, revealing light, warm, bright, almost blinding. The shadows hesitated, retreating reluctantly. Alex felt hope, but fear still clung to him. He didn't know if this light was salvation or another trap.
He stepped forward into the light. Behind him, the doors closed slowly, sealing the elevator back into the darkness. A faint, sinister laughter echoed from within, promising, "Next time, it will catch you." Alex's chest heaved. He survived, but he had changed forever. Alex stepped into the corridor, heart pounding. It seemed safe, almost peaceful, but the shadows lingered in the corners, subtle, patient. He realized that escaping the elevator didn't mean escaping the darkness it carried with it. He looked down. In the polished floor, the elevator reflected back, even though it should have been gone. Faces floated in the mist, watching, waiting. The elevator followed him, its hunger never satisfied, its nightmare never ending. Scratches appeared on the walls, forming runes that glowed faintly. Alex's blood ran cold. These were the elevator's marks, proof that it could reach beyond its cabin. It wasn't just a place, it was an entity, and he was part of its story now. Compelled, he touched a rune. Whispers filled his mind, voices of those trapped, of the elevator itself. It wasn't evil, it was conscious. It sought fear, memory, life. And now Alex had entered its web of influence. In the mirror, he saw himself, but not alone. Shadowy figures merged with him, mouths opening in silent screams. He understood. He wasn't just observing the elevator anymore. He was becoming part of it, part of its hunger, part of its history. Suddenly, the elevator reappeared at the corridor's end, doors glowing faintly. Mist spilled out, tendrils curling like welcoming hands. The whispers invited him back, seductive and irresistible. And Alex knew he had a choice, but any choice could trap him forever. He stepped forward, every muscle trembling. The shadows clawed at him, trying to pull him back. But the elevator promised an escape, a release from fear. And in that moment, he realized sometimes the only way to survive is to confront the nightmare fully. Inside, the elevator transformed. The walls were alive with glowing runes, faces of past victims floating silently. Shadows pressed close, yet Alex stood firm. He understood its rules, its logic. To survive, he had to face it, see it for what it truly was. Fear made tangible, yet conquerable. He pressed the final button. Light burst forth from the doors, shadows retreating violently. The mist dissipated, screaming into silence. Alex felt a relief, exhaustion, and fear mingled together. He survived, but the elevator, it had marked him forever. He had lived, but he had changed. The elevator doors closed, leaving the hallway empty. Faint runes glowed on the floor, a warning for the next traveler. Somewhere inside, a shadow moved, patient, waiting, hungry. The haunted elevator would ride again, and its story had only just begun.